Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. The Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Councilor Ramirez.
Here.
Councilor Broderick.
Here.
Councilor Caulfield.
Here.
Councilor Donahue.
Here.
Councilor Elliott. Here. Mayor Martin.
Here.
Councilor Armand Mercia.
Here.
Councilor Rita Mercia.
Here.
Councilor Milanazzo.
Here.
9 present.
9 present. Before we begin the meeting, I would ask the council to please rise for a moment of silence and darken chambers in the memory of Private First Class John Francis Landry. As I'm sure everybody knows, Private Landry was the first Lowell resident to be killed in the Iraqi war. He was killed in action over this past weekend. It's always, I believe he was 19 years old, and it's terribly sad to lose somebody with his entire life in front of him. He was certainly an American hero, and we're all grateful for his service. Would ask everyone to please rise in a moment of silence and darken chambers. May he rest in peace. We have one item that is not on the agenda. It had been on the agenda several weeks ago, and that involves a group of young people that banded together to raise a significant amount of money for the Lowell General Hospital Cancer Walk, which is coming up in a few weeks. We have a number of people here from the hospital who participated in the evening. I know Councilor Milanazzo and Councilor Caulfield and I had the privilege of attending. From Lowell General, Linda Murphy is here, Nancy McCauley, Linda Gaetano, and now I would like to recognize the chairperson of the Cancer Walk from Fred C. Church, Mr. Bruce Robinson. Bruce.
To be here tonight. This year will be our 8th annual Team Walk for Cancer Care. It will take place on Sunday, May 20th at the Songus Arena. We welcome you all to come down. We believe this walk is very unique because every dollar that we raise stays here in the greater Lowell community to help cancer patients and their families. Hearing the story about the fallen soldier today reminds us of youth and the promise of the future with our youth. And it is with that thought in my heart and my mind that I welcome tonight our guests who, on their own, they had participated in the walk in years past and wanted to find a way to make a difference. And so these students, along with their family and friends, went out, reached out to the community, secured a hall, secured entertainment, sold over 300 tickets, raised in excess of $10,000 on their own. And I might add, they are looking to be tomorrow's future politicians, so I would keep an eye on them. But it is a distinct honor and privilege to welcome these young people as the very best that the City of Lowell has to offer. And we're proud to have them affiliated with Team Walk, and I know that you're proud to have them as part of your community.
Thank you. So I'd like to ask Matt Vieira and Nick Gaudette to come forward. If you could come to the podium. There were actually 4 young people involved. 2 of them couldn't be with us tonight. Joe Vitale and Mary Rose Mazzola also participated. As Bruce told you, they raised over $10,000. Mary Rose is also going to give Councilor Caulfield a fight for his money in singing the national anthem, I think, in the future. She did a lovely job that evening. But these Students are certainly worthy of recognition. I'm just going to read one of the citations. Be it hereby known to all in the City of Lowell and the Commonwealth of Massachusetts that we honor Matt Vieira and Nick Gaudette for their successful fundraiser completed on behalf of Lowell General Hospital's Team Walk for Cancer. Mr. Vieira and friends raised over $10,000 by coordinating and hosting a night of great food and entertainment at Holy Groves Park. The City of Lowell extends its deepest wishes for continued success, given this was originally the 6th day of March by me, the mayor. Congratulations and thanks for your efforts.
I would like to just take this opportunity to thank Mayor Myron and the council members and officials here this evening. It's a great opportunity. It's a great pleasure to have this opportunity to be here. Thank you.
I just want to add my thanks and just to remind you that you're all invited to next year's dinner to be held on the 1st of March of 2008. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Caulfield.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Matthew and Nicholas exemplifies everything that's good in the young people we have in our city. And I could not believe the turnout at that event, especially all the adults that participated, and the teenagers as well. So Matthew and Nicholas, you are on your way to public service, and I can't think of a better way to start with raising money for this dreaded, horrible disease. God bless you.
Okay, thank you all, and good luck on the cancer walk. I'm sure many of us here will be present that day. First item on the agenda is acceptance of the minutes from the March 13th meeting. Motion to approve by Councilor Broderick, seconded by Councilor Rita Mercier. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The minutes are approved. Under the city manager's portion of the agenda, we have communications from the manager, responses to various council motions and requests. Any questions or comments on those items? Councilor Donahue.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This has to do with the report, Mr. Manager, that you issued in response to Councilor Armin Mercier's motion, the report on fire station closings, which is certainly informative as to what's going on. I would also be curious to know where we stand. I don't need the answer tonight, but where we stand with the overtime in terms of the budget and the closings and so forth. Obviously, when we went to the 24-hour shift a few years back, we were hoping to reduce the overtime budget significantly, and I'd like to see, where we are in that regard.
Councilor, we will prepare a report for that. When I received this report from the fire chief earlier today, we had a dialogue back and forth regarding the issue of, if you notice, one of his comments is the decrease in the number of firefighters. And one of the questions I had for him is what impact it would have on our overtime if we were to add on firefighters. Now, there are trade-offs with that. Adding firefighters brings more benefits and long-term benefits as well. So we're doing some analysis on that, but we'll certainly take a look at the overtime. And it has been an argument made by some that going to the 24-hour shift does reduce overtime. So I have some opinions on that, but I will take a look at that.
Well, if you can get us a report, certainly in advance of budget and so forth.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Any further items under the communications from the manager? I did have one, Mr. Manager, if I could. The memorandum about the Alcott Street Cemetery is what I expected, I guess. But perhaps if we could forward a request on to the National Park Service, see if they may have some in their records, who the true owners might be, or anything about the history of the cemetery that might be helpful. I think,
We haven't completed work on this
all right.
yet, but
Okay.
I hadn't thought about that, Mr. Mayor, so I will do that as well. If I may.
Sure,
There's
Mr. Manager.
a report in here that, from the auditor regarding the energy costs, following up to request by one of the councilors, I believe, at the last meeting. This will give you a good analysis of where we are year-to-date and some comparisons for the past couple of years. We're also, Mr. Moses is doing another type of analysis as well, more of on a monthly basis, and doing some projections for us, and we'll have that for the Finance Subcommittee at the next meeting in 2 weeks. So that gets into a little bit more detail in some of the FY07 numbers that we were discussing earlier. We'll also get the information regarding fire overtime that Councilor Donahue just requested.
Okay. Any other questions or comments on reports from the city manager? Hearing that, motion to accept the communications placed on file by Councilor Broderick, seconded by Councilor Ramirez. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The communications are accepted. Next item is a communication from the city manager, report on Stocklosa school issues. The manager has suggested that this is the proper subject for executive session. Whether it is or isn't, I would suggest we just defer consideration of this agenda item until the end of the meeting. Is there any? So moved. So moved by Councilor Armin Mercier, second by Councilor Donahue. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? We'll take this up at the conclusion of the rest of the agenda. We have communications from the city manager requesting approval of out-of-state travel. I believe there are two. Dear Mayor and City Councilors, attached a request from Ken LaValle, Superintendent of Police, to reimburse one employee from the Lowell Police Department who attended a meeting with local police chiefs and sheriffs. The meeting was held in Ithaca, New York, December 12 through 14. All travel accommodations were paid for by Cornell University, except for the per diem and gas costs. Funds to cover this request will come from the Law Enforcement Trust Fund. The second item is also from Ken LaValle, Acting Superintendent of Police, to send two employees to the Lowell Police Department, of the Lowell Police Department, to accompany the Lowell High School drill team at their competition in Washington, D.C. This travel will take place March 22nd through 25th. There will be no cost to the city for this travel request due to the fact that the ROTC will be paying for all expenses. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact me, Bernard F. Lynch, City Manager. It's the wish of the council.
Move approval.
Motion approved by Councilor Armin Mercier, second by Councilor Broderick.
Yes.
Roll call.
Councilor Ramirez.
Yes.
Councilor Broderick.
Yes.
Councilor Caulfield.
Yes.
Councilor Donahue.
Yes.
Councilor Elliott. Mayor Martin.
Yes.
Councilor Armin Mercier.
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercier.
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo.
Yes.
9 yes.
9 yeas, the requests are approved. Next item is a vote authorizing the city manager on behalf of the city of Lowell to accept a donation of $35,346.47 from the Architectural Heritage Foundation on behalf of their newly formed subsidiary HCL Acquisition LLC to be used to pay for the cost of modifications to the design of the jam parking structure to accommodate a future pedestrian bridge over Jackson Street in the city of Lowell. Motion to waive the first full reading by Councilor Caulfield, second by Councilor Broderick. All those in favor of that motion say aye. Any opposed? The first full reading is waived. Second reading by title, a vote authorizing the city manager on behalf of the city of Lowell to accept the donation of $35,346.47 from the Architectural Heritage Foundation, Inc. on behalf of their newly formed subsidiary HCL Acquisition LLC to be used to pay for the cost of modification to the design of the jam parking structure to accommodate a future pedestrian bridge over Jackson Street in the city of Lowell. Questions? Councilor Rita Mercier.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Could you just, through you to the city manager, could you explain a little bit about a pedestrian bridge, like whereabouts will this be?
Perhaps
And where is it going to?
Right, it would go to the condominium development that's across the street from the parking garage, but Assistant City Manager Coggins is here, and he's worked more closely on this issue.
Sure. I can tell you that the Architectural Heritage Foundation has now closed on both the Adden Furniture Building and the CMAA Building.
Yes.
As part of their plan for 236 residential units, they propose to construct at their cost a pedestrian bridge from the third floor of the garage connecting to the front building on Jackson Street. That will not only facilitate pedestrian traffic for people in that building, but more importantly, for people who will be in the Adden building behind, because they will also, at their own expense, put in another pedestrian bridge connecting those two buildings together. Otherwise, if you were in the Adden building, you would have no choice but to go all the way around and back out to the front of the street. So in terms of making the project marketable and desirable to have people live there, that was their suggestion. We had been involved in it from the beginning and had said that was fine. But if, in fact, it created additional cost to the project, it would be a cost that they would have to bear. They have done that, and Consigli, our contractor, felt that it was more appropriate that that financial gift come to the city and then be done as a change order for the construction of the garage, as opposed to having Consigli get into a deal directly with the Architectural Heritage Foundation. So the vehicle is, they give the gift to the city. We will then authorize a change order in that exact amount for the work that has to be done. And what they will do is they will create an area on the third floor where in the future, when they're ready to build a pedestrian bridge, the cement panels can be removed, and then they will build a connection over to the building on Jackson Street.
And how far along are we with the construction of this garage?
We are right on schedule. We expect to be open December of this year. If you have an opportunity to go by, we're really at a stage now where the construction is moving quite rapidly, and I think people can really see the project coming together. The way garages are constructed, they will do all 5 stories and then work west.
So everything seems to be on target.
So far.
And our person that's overseeing the construction of this bridge, garage, is doing a fine job in your estimation?
Our owner's project manager has been outstanding.
Okay, so we have no problems right now.
No, we don't.
Okay, thank you.
If I may, I had
Mr. Manager?
we had an opportunity to do an inspection of the site just recently, and it is moving along quite well. And they are installing a camera on the
gym
on the Middlesex Street.
Correct.
That people from the city will be able to watch as it moves along on a regular basis.
And I just wanted to know, we're talking about the bottom floor and how we'd like retail in there. Is there anybody that was relocated having a chance to move back, like I'm thinking about Barney's?
One of the things that we had made a pledge to do at the time that we were doing those takings is that at the appropriate time we would reach out to all of the affected parties and ask them if they wanted to come back, and we will still do that.
Because we did say that.
Yes, we
when
did.
We would,
Yep. And it's
and
still
I
our
like to keep
intention.
my word, you know what
Right.
I mean? So that'd be a
Absolutely.
good thing. I did read the article in the paper. It's very promising. We had Scott Platt very interested in putting something there. I hope things can work
We've had
out.
a very initial conversation.
But it broke my heart when we had to relocate Barney's. It was an institution that people for years went there. So it would be nice if we could get
We
them
will
back.
absolutely reach out to each of the parties that were in that
Okay.
location.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councilor Milonazo?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Mr. Coggins. Do you know the status of the historic tax credits for that project? I believe
My understanding is that they were successful in the last round, either to the tune of 1.1 or 1.2 million,
Okay.
but they anticipate going in 2 more times to, if successful, garner the necessary tax credits to get moving. That being said, their plan is to start construction on the first phase of the project in late fall of
Okay.
this year.
Thank you. And my other question has to do with the number of parking spaces. We've leased them spaces, correct? Or we
Well-
have reserved spaces?
They won't be reserved. It'll
won't.
be the same situation as we've had with any other development downtown. We supplied a letter to
Okay.
the applicant when they went before the ZBA, saying that in fact they would have the right to utilize spaces in the garage. They are neither designated spaces, but they will be leased to them.
Okay,
And again, they're doing approximately 236 units.
okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Broderick?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the manager, assistant manager, Coggins. Where did they arrive at the 5,000 and change, is that just to change the drawings and to change the panels?
That's correct. That's the cost that Consigli came up with as a change order cost to the city. And so therefore, that's what Architectural Heritage Foundation will pay.
Does it at all affect the number of parking spaces in the garage?
It does not. It was factored in initially.
And this is a question that's really more for the ad and furniture people to deal with, but have they had any preliminary discussions with the historic board in terms of connecting those two buildings?
They have, and actually there is not a concern either with the pedestrian bridge connecting the garage to the front building or the pedestrian bridge that will connect the two buildings together.
Excellent. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Caulfield?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a no-brainer. It's going to make the garage user-friendly. It's going to make it more adaptable to the people who live in the condominiums, and would be foolish not to move forward with this. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Donahue?
Thank you. This may have been stated, but if and when that bridge is built, it won't be at any cost to the city. Is that correct?
That is correct.
But the city would be involved in the construction.
It would be a change order to the current contract, so it would be part of our contract.
And did I read in the paper we don't have an anchor or a anchor tenant for the first floor at this point?
We do not have one at this point. The timetable on that?
We're actually having some discussions with interested parties at this point.
Okay. This is not necessarily garage, but related. The courthouse and the state was looking, and I thought we were going to hear back from them maybe sometime in February as far as siting of the courthouse. I think the courthouse and its location is obviously important, and it's certainly going to be important if for the garage, perhaps, in terms of its viability and being able to pay for it. So do we know anything on that yet?
I think the best way to put it is that they've come out and responded to our ideas of potential locations in that area. They have a couple of their own ideas that they've had some discussions with staff. They also wanted to have some discussions with the delegation, and that's coming together, and we're trying to dovetail it too with some of the discussions with the Hamilton Canal proposals that we have. I would hope that we'll be able to have some type of presentation or meeting with the appropriate subcommittee sometime in the mid-April time frame.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Elliott?
Footbridge over to Adden Furniture, how many units are going in there? Do we know?
Right now, they're planning on 236.
And do they have adequate parking according to the zoning regulations, or is this
Their
considered
ample parking will be in our garage.
in the garage? I think I know the answer to this, but I'd like to at least try again, because when we went through this discussion on how we were going to pay for this garage, right now there's a deficit, and we talked an awful lot tonight about structural deficits. This is one that clearly is going to have an impact on the parking revolving fund, because it's not an enterprise fund. Shouldn't we be asking them to, lease, purchase something to accommodate their development? I'm not trying to, ruin the project, but they're paying for a footbridge, and the city, and at this point, because it's going to have to go on the tax rate unless something changes, because there's no way to pay for this garage. Is there any notion that we can ask them to buy some of these spaces as part of their, similarly to those individuals that bought the Jackson Street, that brought condos, parking spaces with their condos that ultimately lost them as a result of the land taking? I'm just trying to find a way to pay for this garage, because raising the rates is, in my opinion, it didn't pass before, and it's not going to help our downtown business activity. But, can we reach out? Is that a viable alternative, to sell some of these parking spaces to those people that will, rather than lease them on a long-term basis? And I know we're probably well into this already, but we still have no way to pay for this garage, as far as I know.
We can take a look at that, Council. We can get I'll need to sit down with Mr. Coggins and talk about the status of where that permitting stands and how that, we've been working with Chuck Carney on some ideas for financing this, and it is our intention to make the garage, the parking garage as an enterprise, if not fiscal year '08, fiscal year '09, and have it be fully self-supporting. And I mean, that is going to require us to take a look at all the different types of revenue options that we have out there to do this. But we don't want it to be, first off, obviously we don't, as an enterprise, we don't want it to be a drain on the taxpayers. Really, we don't want that type of subsidy. We want it to be fully self-supporting. And you know, we're certainly cognizant of the issue of the any impact on the downtown businesses. So we need to work that through in the most appropriate way, and that's a combination of reducing costs and looking at the different revenue options that we have.
I mean, you follow my train of thought. You know, it's a good project. They need parking. Part of the permit is parking in this garage.
Right.
Shouldn't they share in the cost? Because this footbridge is clearly going to make the sale of those, you know, units much more palatable and attractive. So.
Right.
My point is exactly what you said, Mr. Manager. Taxpayers shouldn't have to pay for this, but the people that benefit primarily from the use of that of those spaces. So,
right.
If we can look into
we can take a look at that. We'll take a look at the different options that may exist for that. I guess one of my concerns that I need to think through is once they buy those, they'd essentially become part owners of the garage with us, and you know, I'm not sure how that would work in terms of the long-term issues that we may have with the garage in terms of maintenance and so forth that would have to be worked out. So we would have to take a look at that.
But my point is leasing them at the current rate puts us again at a deficit as some of the other garages.
Which is why I think we need to take a look at the rate structure in some way. And
I'm going to support this because it makes sense, but looking into those will help. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Anything further? Roll call.
Councilor Ramirez?
Yes.
Councilor Broderick?
Yes.
Councilor Caulfield?
Yes.
Councilor Donahue?
Yes.
Councilor Elliott?
Yes.
Mayor Martin?
Yes.
Councilor Armin Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo?
Yes.
9 yeas, the vote is approved. The next vote is a vote authorizing the city manager to apply, accept, and expend funds from a grant from the Federal Highway Administration's Transportation, Community, and System Preservation Grant Program in an amount up to $500,000 on behalf of the City of Lowell to provide funding to support the Hamilton Canal District charrette. Motion to waive the full reading by Councilor Broderick, seconded by Councilor Ramirez. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The first full reading is waived. Second reading by title, a vote authorizing the city manager to apply, accept, and expend funds from a grant from the Federal Highway Administration's Transportation, Community, and System Preservation Grant Program in an amount up to $500,000 on behalf of the City of Lowell to provide funding to support the Hamilton Canal District charrette. Councilor Milonazo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the manager. Mr. Manager, can you give us an update as to where we are with the process of selecting the developer? Also, how long do you think the charrette process will actually, once it gets started, will actually last?
Okay, I'll have Mr. Coggin speak to the charrette process, but we have met with the three finalists for Master Developer. We've met with them on 2 or 3 occasions, each one of them. We're now in the process of gathering additional information on their financial packages, as well as looking at similar projects that they've done in the area or outside the area to determine which one is of the highest quality and the most appropriate type of development for the vision that the city council and the city administration has for that area. We've also been having discussions, as we discussed with Councilor Donahue's question, with DCAM regarding the locating of the courthouse in that area, as well as very recent conversations with the university, both the current officials of the university as well as future officials of the university, to identify the possibilities for the Nanotech Center being located at the Hamilton Canal site. So there's a lot of different pieces coming together. I'm hopeful that we'll have a recommendation to the council by the end of April. and then we would have the charrette, we would move forward to negotiate with the master developer and have the charrette process take place during the summer months.
Sure. Also, just to add to your question, Councilor, we had talked about the charrette being a 7-day, very intense working and short time period. We've actually seen at least 2 of the 3 developers recommend that it actually be a longer process over a matter of weeks, so that perhaps people have a greater opportunity for input instead of allocating time 3 or 4 nights out of a single week. At least 2 of them are saying, we could do it over a series of Saturdays. So it could extend out a little bit longer than we had first thought. I think in the end, we will go with whatever model gives the community the greatest opportunity to be a part of that process.
If I may, too, one thing that I think should be noted is that all of the developers have a little bit of they have a different sort of little bit different vision of the area. But one common thread that runs throughout is exactly what we were looking for in terms of a mixed-use development that would include commercial space, retail space, some residential, variations of how that residential will be put together, as well as some institutional uses. And they all have excellent track records in their prior projects from what we can see and what we know of. But they all have a high degree of faith in this project and its possibility of moving forward and really being very profitable for them, but being very beneficial to the city as well.
Okay, thank you. If I could, Mr. Mayor, based on that comment, have you made a decision relative to Chapter 40R at this particular point? I know that it was in the mix at one point.
We're still, we've raised that with each one of the teams. They're all open to that,
Okay.
and they're all interested in discussing it further with us. One point I would make is that certainly we're balancing a couple of different ideas here. One is obviously we want the best possible project for the area, and I think all of them will be able to provide us with an excellent project. But certainly paramount to us is that the city get the best financial return. I mean, the city has expended a considerable sum of money on the site. We want to get that money back, as much of it as possible, if not more. And we also want the largest tax impact. I mean, our goal in this is to provide tax benefits to the city to maintain our level of services for the residents and businesses, and we also want it to be an economic engine for the city that will produce jobs. So the commercial component is very important to us, and we're looking at that as well.
Okay, and then one final comment. When the recommendation is made, I would look forward to it being referred to the Economic Development Subcommittee for review, or if the council wants a committee of the whole, whatever they desire, but I think at least it should go to the Economic Development Subcommittee for review. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councilor Caulfield.
I just want to echo the feelings of Manager Lynch. The 3 finalists for the jam plan, any one of them will do an excellent job. And their track record, Baltimore, Providence, New York, so forth, magnificent. So I'm very excited and optimistic that we can turn that neighborhood around.
Absolutely.
Okay. Any further questions? Councilor Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. As Mr. Coggins indicated, the build-out does vary, but 6 to 10 in one, 7 years to the other. The city took out a note to purchase this property. When do we expect the payback will begin? Is it phased in? Will this developer just go in and purchase the property outright?
Each proposal has a little bit different variation, but it wouldn't take place all at once. I believe one proposal may have all at once, but most are over a period of time that they, as pieces of it are released to them.
Right. The manager's right. You're talking about 3 different developers, 3 different deals. Some are talking about an option payment during the period that we would be finalizing a negotiation prior to the execution of sale. Others have not mentioned that. So I guess until we really can come to you, the subcommittee, however we're going to do this, with a recommended developer and a recommended plan, it would be hard to truthfully answer that.
Okay. I mean, my concern is, you know, I voted for this, naturally, sort of presuming that, you know, once we got to this stage that that note would go away. And it was for 20 years, I believe, and I'm just concerned. I don't want to have to pay for that for 20 years. You know, we're going to get the money and you know, put it towards that essentially, or so. I mean, that's again more debt that it's taking away from other things where, you know, we need to turn it over. Do we figure we're going to make any? Is it just going to be a net gain, or how are we going to get? You know, usually we'll go out for a bidding process. So how do we get our money back? Is my question.
It will all take place during the negotiation process.
It
Who we
will.
pick, and then how we negotiate the deal, and that will, you know, how that's structured will obviously determine, you know, how the money comes back, and the amount of money that comes back to us.
So that's not part of the negotiation. We're selecting. Well, we're not going to select a high bidder. Is the point I'm trying to get across.
Right.
We're going to select the best developer based upon the proposals that have been submitted and the charrette process, and then we go to negotiate from there on out.
We choose a developer, and we choose the one that's going to provide us with the best project, and a key component of that is the financial impact, and that is how much money is coming back to the city, what type of taxes are going to be generated as a result of that. Once that's done, then we enter into negotiations to put together the agreement, and that's going to be a you know, an involved process and complicated process as well. Very technical. I mean, all of these developers, as Councilor Caulfield referenced, have extensive track records, and they've been down this road before. They've got extremely good representation, and we're going to have to go through a very complex set of negotiations. Once that's done, then we move to the charrette process.
Okay. Thank you.
Anything further? Roll call.
Councilor Ramirez?
Yes.
Councilor Broderick?
Yes.
Councilor Caulfield?
Yes.
Councilor Donahue?
Yes.
Councilor Elliott?
Yes.
Mayor Martin?
Yes.
Councilor Arman Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo?
Yes.
9 yeas, the vote to apply for that grant is approved. Next item is a loan order to borrow $1,957,600 for the purpose of financing the cost of engineering services for plans and specifications for the design of the modifications to the Lowell wastewater treatment plant. It is hereby ordered by the City Council of the City of Lowell by a 2/3 vote as follows. Ordered that the sum of $1,957,600 is appropriated for the purpose of financing the cost of engineering services for plans and specifications for the design and modifications to the wastewater treatment plant, including without limitation all costs thereof, as defined in Section 1 of Chapter 29C of the General Laws, that to meet this appropriation, the Treasurer, with the approval of the City Manager, is authorized to borrow $1,957,600 and issue bonds or notes therefore under General Laws Chapter 44 and/or Chapter 29C of the General Laws, that such bonds and notes shall be general obligations of the city unless the Treasurer, with the approval of the City Manager, determines they should be issued as limited obligations and may be secured by local system revenues as defined in Section 1 of Chapter 29C, that the Treasurer, with the approval of the City Manager, is authorized to borrow all or a portion of such amount from the Massachusetts Water Pollution Abatement Trust created pursuant to Chapter 29C, and in connection therewith to enter into a loan agreement and/or security agreement with the trust, and otherwise to contract with the trust and the Department of Environmental Protection with respect to such loan and for any federal and all state aid available for the project or for the financing thereof, and that the City Manager is authorized to enter into a project regulatory agreement with the Department of Environmental Protection to expend all funds available for the project and to take any other necessary action to carry out the project, and that the Treasurer is authorized to file an application with the Municipal Finance Oversight Board to qualify any and all of the bonds under General Laws Chapter 44A and to provide such information and execute such documents as such board may require for these purposes. Order introduced and recommended by Bernard F. Lynch, City Manager. This gets referred to a public hearing on April 10th. So moved by Councilor Rita Mercia, second by Councilor Elliott. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The matter is referred to a public hearing April 10th. Councilor Elliott.
At the public hearing, Mr. Manager, could we get an explanation what, I know we had it last week, but exactly the breakdown, because people should know this is to address the odor, it's an odor remediation project, correct?
A large part of this is odor remediation, and as well as some other improvements to the facility, and we will have a budget summary for you for that public hearing.
Okay, and what is the time build out on this project for the odor remediation? Any idea?
Mr. Young is here as wastewater.
I mean, the good news is that this is coming out of the sewer enterprise fund, and it is going to address the odors, but they probably will not notice a difference this summer, or will they?
No, not this summer.
Okay.
The schedule will be to have the plans drawn up this summer, and actually have it, our goal is to have it out to bid by the end of the year. We would like to ideally start construction sometime late fall or early winter this year.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Rita Mercier.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Mark Young. Is any of this, I know there's going to be a public hearing, but is any of this mandated upgrades mandated by the government? Or is it just that you want to remediate the odor, and this is the cost of it?
It's odor and the old equipment, Councilor.
Old equipment you need to replace?
Yes, yes.
Thank you. Councilor Caulfield.
Thank you. Just one question to the manager. Mr. Manager, could any of the enterprise funding be used for this?
The enterprise fund will pay the debt service associated with this. This
So
will,
we
this
are
will not
utilizing-
impact the, right.
Okay.
And this is calculated in our long-term plan for the enterprise fund.
Okay, any further questions on this item? All right. Next item is a vote appointing, making an appointment to the Historical Board. Dear Mayor Martin, members of the City Council, pursuant to the authority vested in me as City Manager under Section 5A of Chapter 566 of the Acts of 1983, I have appointed the following person to the Lowell Historic Board: Taya Dixon Mullane of 63 South Loring Street, Lowell, for a 2-year term expiring February 28, 2009. Under the above referenced statute, confirmation by the council is required for this appointment and is hereby requested. I would also note that I interviewed 2 other individuals for this appointment as well. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have. Very truly yours, Bernard F. Lynch, City Manager. It's a wish of the council.
Move approval.
Motion approved by Councilor Armin Mercier, second by Councilor Ramirez. Roll call.
Councilor Ramirez.
Yes.
Councilor Broderick.
Yes.
Councilor Caulfield. Councilor Donahue.
Yes.
Councilor Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Martin.
Yes.
Councilor Armin Mercier.
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercier.
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo.
Yes.
Next item is a communication concerning the Council on Aging from Mr. Leo Cloutier. Dear Mr. Cloutier, this letter acknowledges receipt of your letter dated March 8, 2007, in which you resign as a board member of the Council on Aging of the City of Lowell. Your resignation is hereby accepted. I am filing your resignation and this acceptance thereof this date with the city clerk as required by law, and also forwarding copies as a communication to the City Council. The City of Lowell appreciates your years of service, and on its behalf I extend thanks. Very truly yours, Bernard F. Lynch, City Manager. Motion to approve.
Place on file.
Motion to accept by Councilor Armin Mercier, second by Councilor Rita Mercier. Councilor Rita Mercier.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to say that Leo Cloutier has been exemplary in this Council on Aging. He has been tremendous. He was on our board for the Friends of the Council on Aging as well. He's involved with the Franco-American War veterans. The man is just a dynamic person, and I know that he's got a lot of fuel in the fire, and I think he wants to give his all, and I know that he's split up with different things, and so I'm very sorry to see him go, but I want to thank him for his enthusiasm and his will to serve. He has been a remarkable human being. He was our treasurer. He's smart as a whip with the finances, so we'll miss him. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Elliott?
Yeah, I agree, and in his letter, he indicates that he's, when some other responsibilities may subside, he's willing to come back, so I hope you'll take that into consideration. I agree with Council Mercia. He was one of the early members of the Friends of the Council on Aging when we didn't have a nickel, and really put a lot of time and effort into that, and he'll be missed on the Council on Aging.
Thank you. All those in favor of the motion say aye. Any opposed? The resignation is accepted. Next item is a appropriation transfer in order to meet fixed charges and current expenses of the City of Lowell for the year 2006-2007, ordered by the City Council of the City of Lowell as follows: that the amount of $2,000 is hereby appropriated to the Treasurer, Salaries and Wages Overtime Account in the amount of $2,000, and in order to provide for such appropriation, the above amount is hereby transferred for said purpose from the Treasurer, Salaries and Wages Permanent Account in the amount of $2,000 to provide funds to pay Assistant Treasurer overtime of 2.5 hours per week until June 30, 2007. Order recommended, introduced by Bernard F. Lynch, City Manager. Any questions?
Motion approved.
Motion approved by Councilor Broderick, second by Councilor Ramirez. Roll call.
Councilor Ramirez.
Yes.
Councilor Broderick.
Yes.
Councilor Caulfield.
Yes.
Councilor Donahue.
Yes.
Councilor Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Martin.
Yes.
Councilor Arman Mercia.
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia.
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo.
Yes.
9 yeas.
And yes. Subcommittee reports. Any subcommittee reports? Councilor Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Finance Subcommittee met this evening regarding a number of motions that were referred over the last couple of weeks, and we got through a fair number of them. We got through the 06 audit, we got through the free cash analysis, 07 budget status, with the remaining items to discuss in 2 weeks' time: energy use, FY08 forecast, meals tax, Middlesex Community College, parking agreement. The meeting was televised, so we won't go into elaborate detail. I'm sure the manager and the CFO provided all the explanation on all of these. But in particular, we started with the 06 audit, which raised a number of concerns from last year, as well as prior year recommendations that were not implemented that are being implemented. And I won't go through the list, but of particular concern was one of the material weaknesses that was cited in the report, which have been addressed and are currently being addressed as it relates to the Treasurer's Office. That is a concern anytime there's a material weakness, as Mr. Moses has indicated in the meeting. It's a concern. It also will be raised in the Department of Revenue report, as my discussions with Department of Revenue and the manager and CFO have taken place. But the good news is that Mr. Moses and the manager did explain those steps that are being taken, including transfers tonight, last week, to bring in temporary help to go through primarily the reconciliation of the cash account as well as others, and I won't get into all the issues. But the auditor as well attended the meeting, and we went through item by item, actions being taken on many, and some of them have already been resolved. But the particular material weakness is of concern, but those, Mr. Moses, you may want to elaborate a little bit on that particular one, because that one is of utmost concern. Other items, I went through the balance sheet, and of course, no different news. We have an operating deficit this year, a fund balance deficit of $306,000. There is currently a fund balance of 5.3. 4.2 is, of that 5.3, 4.2 is a stabilization. We're required to keep that balance by law. The balance of 1.1 in reserves are for unpaid bills. We start the year with a $306 deficit, which is not good news. But we knew it was there. There's no surprises, and that was the free cash number deficit that came back from the state. Is that correct, Mr. Moses?
Actually, the free cash deficit was $2.2 million, a subset of that balance.
So the 306 is what we're starting the year
Right.
with. Okay. I stand corrected. So The next item, we looked at statement of revenues and expenditures, which reflects the activity between years. There was a general fund variance of $8 million that's primarily using the reserves that we have to fund the budget in the last year. That was noted by the CFO. That $8 million variance primarily is in the overestimation of local receipts, which again we knew that we addressed this fiscal year. So that really is a recap of the meeting. I won't go. Those are the major items. Other items that were raised of not concern, but auditors have to do their job. GASB 45, which is the manager did raise or is addressing. We're going out to hire a firm to do the actuarial study to look at and measure our healthcare costs. Tax foreclosures, Chapter 90 funds, the auditor, there's a surplus, which there shouldn't be, but auditor indicated it. Money came in and just posted to the wrong account. FY07 budget, Mr. Moses indicated that revenues are coming in as projected. Investment income is doing better than expected. There is some lagging in permits and licenses, but we haven't looked at the third quarter. We hope to see an increase to make up that area that's lagging. Local receipts are up $1.5 million, in large part because of the Lenagear agreement, and again, interest income. So I think that's a recap of the meeting for an hour and a half. But again, it was televised, so we don't want to go through, all of the items that were discussed. But things are looking positive on the financial side, and we're looking forward to 08. We'll get into that in 2 weeks. So, Mr. Manager and Mr. Moses, would like to add something to that.
Mr. Manager?
Well, Counselor, I think you gave a good description, a very concise description of a lot of the presentation that we made. Hopefully, the subcommittee found it to be useful. I do think that if I could just echo a few of your comments, I think that in terms of FY07, we're in pretty good shape. I think the budget that we ended up with and that the council voted back in amending it back in December is a good budget. It's a very reasonable, realistic, conservative budget that is appropriately financed, and I think we're tracking that very carefully and making sure that in fact it ends the year like that. I think with regards to the information that we provide you for the FY06, I mean it is a situation where it's sort of old news. It's how we ended last fiscal year, but I think it's important information that the council has and that the public has to understand the trends that we've seen in the city's finances over the last several years, and particularly last fiscal year. We've seen a steady decrease in our reserves, and we discussed during the subcommittee why that happened and the desire on the part of the council to maintain services without increasing taxes, and unfortunately it did result in a steady decrease of our free cash and our reserves, and really built in a structural deficit that we need to deal with and we need to cope with. And I think certainly the sense I get from the council, from the subcommittee, is that we want to do that, and so we're moving forward with that. With regards to the management letter, I think that the management letter sort of highlights, and more of this I think will become clear, as you've pointed out, with the Department of Revenue report that we're expecting within the next several weeks. It highlights the fact that we have some work to do in terms of the systems that we operate here in the city. And I think Councilor Mercier was correct in stating that there's housekeeping issues largely. They are housekeeping issues, but we do need to maintain our house, and that's what we're doing. And we're fixing those problems. The material weakness is significant, and we need to address that. I think my greatest concern with regards to the management letter is that the number of issues, the number of housekeeping issues that need to be addressed, is higher than I would like. I think that's an issue of concern. The other is that the fact that many of these issues have recurred year after year for the last several. that certainly show that work needs to be done. And I think that Mr. Moses and the city auditor are working closely to develop strategies to solve many of these problems, so that there's a comfort level on the part of the city auditor that and the CFO that the appropriate actions are being taken so that these are wiped out. Now, I do think we have to acknowledge that these were discovered in FYO at the conclusion of FY06. They were carried into FY07. The new finance team really has come into place in the last few months, so those findings are still going to be carried over into the FY07 management letter, but with the difference being that it will show that certain actions are being taken to resolve those issues, or in fact they will have been resolved. So I think we're making steady progress. I appreciate the support of the council in taking those appropriate steps and moving the finances and the financial systems forward. And I'd be happy, I'm sure Mr. Moses would be happy to answer any questions that the council may have, or I'll be happy to answer any as well.
Thank you. Councilor Caulfield?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. One of the negative issues was the reconciling the funding and so forth in the Treasurer's Office, and we're addressing that. So.
That's correct. Several of the actions that the council has taken over the last couple of weeks are to fund our solutions to this problem, both internal staffing, hiring consultants from the outside, and we're continuing to do non-financial transactions that won't necessarily come before the council in approval, but reallocating internal resources, reassigning some duties to other departments possibly that make more sense. So we really are addressing this problem and attacking it from many, many different angles.
Okay. Anything further? Councilor Elliott?
Well, I think the manager really characterized it well. While some of these are housekeeping items, they continue to resurface on a yearly basis, and then they become material weaknesses because cash reconciliation was recommendations for the last couple of years, and now it is a weakness. So it's, as was discussed in the Finance Subcommittee meeting, this has been elevated from a recommendation to a point where it's more severe, if you will, that it's a weakness. And we have to do this reconciliation. We get the money in the right account so then it can be invested. So some of it's housekeeping, but I don't think that we should make light of many of these items that continue to surface, and including those of HUD and that seem to keep coming back. So I'm looking forward next year to these coming under the third section, the current status, and them being resolved, and put put these housekeeping issues to rest. So that's the report from the Finance Subcommittee on this particular item. There were no motions, and is a motion of just a report of progress.
Okay. Motion to accept the report as a report of progress. Councilor Ramirez, second by Councilor Broderick. Any further discussion? Councilor Rita Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't know how I can explain this, but when I hear the word finances and what it means to me, I'm not the greatest person to know about finances because it's kind of confusing, but let me just say that when budget time comes, all we know is that we don't want to raise taxes, and all we hear all through the time to the next budget session is that we have to put our house in order, we have to maintain and repair and fix and upgrade and everything word that you can think of, and I want to do that. I want to maintain that which we own. I want to upgrade things, but where does it stop so that we know that there's a safety net and we can't go, even though we know we need to do some things, we can't do it because we don't want to be raising taxes to the point where it's going to burden our residents and taxpayers any further. So what I'm saying to you is I don't know when that time is going to come. I know that we're going to have a public hearing to upgrade and take care of an odor situation that desperately has to be done. I know that we have to replace all equipment that's fallen apart. I know that we have to do this. When does that stop when we have to control our spending? Like, I don't want to go that close to the levy limit that we're going to turn around in like towns and say, gee, we're right up against it. We have to go Proposition 2.5 and override. I don't want to do that in this city. I certainly don't want to get that close to the levy limit. So my simple question in lay terms is, when do we put the brakes on and say, you know, I'm coming before you with this request for money, $1.something million, but we're reached a point where I'm going to have to raise taxes if you support it. I mean, I want you to be honest with me, the lay people, to say that, you know, we need this done, but we just can't afford it. It's going to create taxes because we're right up there. And so that's where I'm going. This is what I'm telling you. That, you know, I don't, there's going to be a day when you're going to come forward with something under your agenda that I'm not going to be able to support it because we're going to be, you know, to the point where it's going to raise our taxes, and I don't really want to do that.
Budget.
At budget time,
You know,
we got to control spending. I think, you know,
If I may.
I mean, I could say yes all day long, but if we don't have the money to afford it, and it's going to come out with a high increase in taxes, I don't want to do that.
Counselor, I'm not asking the purpose of this presentation to the
I know
Finance
that,
Subcommittee.
but
was
it's
just to give
budget, it's a forecast. I mean, I'm
Well, no, we
concerned
haven't even
about
gotten
5 years, but I'm concerned about June.
We haven't even gotten to the, I agree, but we're not requesting anything from the council. We're just giving you a status of
I know
the
it, I'm
city's
just giving you
finances.
my report.
In the,
I'm giving you my feelings.
and I
I
share
mean,
your
I'm here to express my opinion, right?
I
That's
share-
my opinion.
I share your feelings.
I mean,
on-
I know that we're going to look 5 years down the line, but I'm worried about this year. I'm worried about June. And that's why I'm telling you my feelings. And I'm asking you to help us so that we don't burden again in October and say, I mean, in June and say, there's no free cash, we can't use that, we're in the hole, we got to raise taxes another $1 or whatever. I really don't want to hear that. I'm asking you now in March that there may be a day I'm sitting here that I can't support something that you think needs to be done. That's my discussion right here. Thank you.
Councilor Broderick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I agree. I think that we all want to know if we're going to render a decision that's going to increase taxes. And, excuse me, I think that the information that we're getting now, as opposed to in the past, is going to give us that sense, a sense of security that we're taking the proper vote, or the vote we're taking is accurate. And I appreciate the accuracy of the information from the auditor, as opposed to guesstimates that have gotten us in the problems that we're in. I think that we all can be, I think, at least secure in the fact that we're getting the information we need to make an informed decision. And that, I think, has been a major concern, at least on my part, and based on past decisions. It's not that I didn't take the vote, it's just that I didn't have the necessary information or accurate information to take it. And I think that we can get that. We're getting that now. And I think that's going to make the decision, as Councilor Rita Mercy is saying, a lot easier to make. We're going to know that, Mr. Manager, if we vote on this, is this going to increase taxes? And you or Mr. Moses or Ms. Wright can confirm is yes or no, and explain why and how, and we can take the vote. But at least we'll have made an informed decision based upon the accurate facts, which I think is all we can ask. And I look forward to the budget and the form you've talked about, or a new form. I don't know, we haven't got into what the form's going to look like, but I look forward to addressing it at that time and certainly asking those questions, and then we can all make the tough decision. If we don't want to spend, we have to cut. And that's going to be, you know, not much less painful, but it may be necessary. So I think that at least we know we're going to be making informed decisions, and I appreciate that. Thank you for the information.
Thank you.
Councilor Coffey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I certainly understand where Councilor Rita Mercy is coming from. I think what basically she's saying is, Mr. Manager, just raise a red flag when you see that opportune time, if you think we're going over the edge of the fine line. And I think that's what she's saying.
That's right.
Okay. The motion is to accept the subcommittee report. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The report is accepted. Additional subcommittee reports? Okay, we have two petitions. One from Raymond Russell, 984 Bridge Street, petition to address the City Council concerning litter and debris. I don't believe Mr. Russell is here. Second petition from Dennis and George Scannell, 50 Tanner Street, requesting the city abandon a portion of Border Street. Motion to refer these petitions to the city manager for report and recommendation by Councilor Milonazo, seconded by Councilor Broderick. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The petitions are referred to the city manager. We have a petition for a conduit location for Verizon, requesting 10 feet of conduit in Smith Street. Motion to refer this to a public hearing on April 10th. So moved by Councilor Milonazo, second by Councilor Elliott. This matter is referred to a public hearing on April 10th. Under motions, the first motion by Councilor Ramirez. City Council requests the city manager to consult with the DPD director and special events coordinator on the feasibility of closing Palmer Street and Middle Street to motor vehicle traffic. Second by Councilor Rita Mercia. Councilor Ramirez.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Manager, you may recall last summer we had sort of a trial period where we closed the downtown streets of Palmer and Middle Streets. I think we closed them for about 6 weekends. We did twice a month. And I know that there was a lot of good that came out of it, and I also know that there was some financial concerns with it because my last conversation with some of the folks was that it cost about $30,000 to the city, and I am sensitive to our financial constraints. And what I was hoping was that maybe you'd speak to Mr. Coggins and Mr. St. Onge about the feasibility of doing that again. And perhaps maybe they can speak to some of the folks right in those corners that stood to benefit most to see if maybe they would contribute to either maybe promote a weekend or pay for a weekend closing. If we had 6 of them and it cost $30,000, roughly speaking about $5,000, I'm not saying that folks may want to put up $5,000 to promote it, but even if we could collect some money to offset it, I thought it provided a lot of goodwill in the summer. I know a lot of the artists downtown and a lot of the folks that live downtown really enjoyed it, and the city did a fantastic job. So that's the intent of the motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Broderick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think it's a good motion to start looking at this now because I think we've all heard or been questioned as to how much it costs and who benefited and some of the local people that were opposed or liked it and whatnot. But I think it's also might be a good time to start talking to some of the artists in terms of we have artists, we also have retailers that maybe we can if we're going to shut the streets down, have more than just a few restaurants open, maybe they can come out and display some art for sale, maybe a way to create more of a buzz and assist them, maybe even food outside and different. I think there'd be different things to promote in terms of just maybe than just a band and the whatever's on the corners there. But I think it's timely. I think we should look at it now rather than make a rash or a quick decision when the weather finally does break for good. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Manager.
Councilor, I will follow up, obviously, on speaking with Mr. Coggins and Mr. St. Onge, as well as some of the businesses. We'll talk to some of the businesses down there. One aspect of doing that will be we have our second downtown summit coming up next Tuesday, and certainly the councilors are all again invited to attend that. And it will be more of a participatory process at this particular meeting, and this will be one of the issues that we'll try to put out there as some opportunities. I think it's an idea that's worth pursuing, and I think I agree with Councilor Broderick. Doing it now is the time to do that.
Thank you. Anyone else on this? All those in favor of the motion say aye. Any opposed? The motion's approved. Next motion by Councilor Ramirez. The City Council requests the City Manager to report on opportunities for summer youth programs. Second by Councilor Caulfield. Councilor Ramirez.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I guess maybe while we're talking about timely discussions, summer's around the corner and we all have children and friends and just residents in the city whose teenagers are looking to save money for college or just make some money in general. And I know that the Parks and Recreation does have a number of positions available, but I'm not sure if you've had some discussions with some of the business community again to see if they can promote some way for these kids to earn some money over the summer. And if we could perhaps maybe refer the findings of this to the youth subcommittee, and I'll let you know maybe later this week when would be a good day for us to meet, and then we can have a more roundtable discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Manager.
I'd be happy to look forward to the opportunity to meet with the youth subcommittee to discuss this. Actually, if I could, just a couple of things that we are doing, and then we can elaborate at the subcommittee. I think this is another excellent motion. We've been meeting with our gang advisory group, and one of the issues that we've been talking about there is the summer, that we have basically two different needs. We have a need for some recreation programs for some of our younger youth, as well as the older ones. But also there's a real cry there for jobs, that the kids would like to get an opportunity to make some money to keep themselves busy during the summer. So we're doing a couple of different things, and I'd like to do a little bit more work on it before I come to the youth subcommittee. But I am going to be meeting with our recreation director to talk about some of the programs that we'll be doing this summer for recreation. We're looking at tapping into a number of different resources to make that happen. We're looking at certainly where we stand with our pools, and we have the new water park that we're hoping will be open at some point this summer. So we're addressing that. But on the jobs issue, we're actually working through our community development or planning and development, as well as the workplace training programs, Work Career Center. We're trying to reach out to all of the businesses of the city, asking them to bring on one, if not more, youth and giving them jobs for the summer. We've estimated the cost to be about $1,500 to $1,600 per youth, figuring 30 hours a week, minimum wage for about 7 or 8 weeks. Certainly something that's reasonable. There's certainly work that can be done. It's a great opportunity for the youth. It's a great opportunity for the businesses to really make an impact on the city. And if we can, we're going to be bringing on about 150 kids this summer to work for the city, utilizing various funds that we have available to us through the Career Center. But if we can get out and get the businesses to do this, so I'll be contacting all the businesses and working through the Lowell plan as well as the Chamber of Commerce to make that happen. And as that unfolds, I welcome the opportunity to speak to the youth subcommittee on that.
Thank you. Councilor Rita Mercier.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. UMass Lowell also has a program in conjunction with our program here in the city as well. And tomorrow at 5 o'clock, the Parks and Recreation Subcommittee meeting will be meeting at 5 o'clock. And I can bring this up as well and discuss that. And then when we have our youth subcommittee, I will bring to that subcommittee what we've learned tomorrow evening. Thank you.
All those in favor of the motion say aye. Any opposed? The motion's approved. Next motion is by Councilor Rita Mercier. City Council requests the city manager have the law department draw the proper vote to have a 60-day trial for a handicap parking sign at 77 Crosby Street. Second by Councilor Caulfield. Councilor Rita Mercier.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. The motion speaks for itself, and Mrs. Smith did provide the necessary documented proof that there is a need for this parking, handicap parking spot. And to correct the agenda, which you did correct it, it's 77 Crosby Street. Thank you.
Okay. All those in favor of the motion say aye. Any opposed? The motion's approved. Next motion by Councilor Milanazzo. City Council requests the city manager have DPD investigate the possibility of placing a conservation restriction on the property located at 520 Varnum Avenue. Second by Councilor Elliott. Councilor Milanazzo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, I'm not sure if it should be the planning department or the law department, or maybe both, but I bring this forward as a result of a request from the Pawtuckettville Citizens Council. I was at a meeting there 2 weeks ago, and there's a city-owned piece of property at 520 Varnum Avenue. It's about 211,000 square feet, so it's a good-sized piece of property that actually abuts the Ann Walcom Park along Pawtucket Boulevard. But this actually does front on Varnum Avenue. So as part of the Pawtuckettville master plan, as the city surpluses this property, they would like us to look at putting a conservation easement on the property. So that's really the reason for the motion, and I would look forward to getting a report back from the manager's office. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Anything further on this? All those in favor of the motion say aye. Any opposed? The motion's approved. Next motion by Councilor Milanazzo. City Council requests the city manager to investigate the possibility of placing a skateboard park in Belvedere. Second by Councilor Ramirez. Councilor Milanazzo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I know that I believe Councilor Reedermerth here actually brought this forward. I think it was last year, but I brought it forward again as a result of a letter that was in the Lowell Sun this week. A skate park wanted, signed by, I think it was 15 individuals, young kids. In fact, the letter was actually started off by a 12-year-old in Belvedere. And I'm not looking to spend a lot of money. I thought what we could possibly do is have the manager's office working with Commissioner Bellegarde look at this, and maybe even in partnership with, say, the Greater Lowell Vocational Technical School, actually make the ramps, if we could actually develop a location or site a skate park in Belvedere. So again, I'm looking for some research to be done, maybe again first with a location and then a way to pay for it, because again, you often read about kids, getting in trouble, being in gangs, and again, I'm not making light of that by any stretch of the imagination, but here it looks like we have 15 good kids looking to stay busy, especially as the good weather is upon us. So again, I'm just looking for a report from the manager's office as to hopefully, again, if it should be referred to Councilor Rita Mercier's park subcommittee, I'd be happy to do that as well. But again, the reason I brought it forward was because it is timely.
Thank you. Mr. Manager?
Councilor, we will put together some information on that and then bring it to the, if it's the will of the council, to bring it to the subcommittee for discussions before presentation back to the full council.
All those in favor of the motion say aye. Any opposed? The motion's approved. Next motion by Councilor Caulfield. City Council requests the city manager address the concerns of the recycling contractor not picking up recycling bins. Second by Councilor Broderick. Councilor Caulfield.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We're trying to promote recycling in our city, and Gunther Wellstein is doing an excellent job, the council, the manager. Everyone's contributing. And I received a call from a constituent in the Lower Highlands, and he convinced his neighbors to start recycling. We can save money. And they said to him, they will never come down here. They won't pick it up. And he convinced them that they would. So he was recycling for 2 weeks in a row. Russell never even went down the street. And I called Kevin Douglas, the business manager's office. I know Gunther Wallstein did as well. He said, it will never happen again. I apologize. Must have been a new driver or whatever. And it happened again last Thursday. And that neighborhood is saying, we're being laughed at. And Mr. Douglas must have heard my motion over the WCP radio today, because he called me. And he will be in attendance next Tuesday at the council meeting. But if we want to see this recycling program successful, the key player here is Russell, the picking up the bins. And if they just drive by people's homes and forget them, or don't go down to a dead-end street or a side street, people aren't going to do it. So he's going to be here next Tuesday to address the council. And Mr. Manager, I hope you can probably have Gunther Wellstein here and so forth. And he's...
Mr. Manager?
Councilor, I will, we have Gunther working on he's been working on a tracking system for both trash and recycling complaints that he's putting in place, and there have been some changes that he's advised me of with regards to Russell. If I may, Councilor, in the future, when you're going to be talking to one of our contractors, it may be easier just to have you contact my office and contact me. I'd be more than happy. I know Kevin Russell very well. as a contractor, and it may be more advisable to have that communication. I'd be happy to do that.
Well,
on
I
your
got him to
behalf.
come to the meeting next Tuesday, so he'll be here.
I understand.
And he apologized.
Yeah.
But that doesn't make up for the driver. Just, he said, I have new drivers. That's not our problem. That's his problem.
Absolutely. It is his problem. He's the one that, it's tough, and I'm glad you've raised it tonight, but it's tough for us to actually monitor his performance unless that comes through as we administer that and manage that contract.
So he's going to bring in a working supervisor, foreman into the city of Lowell and make sure that the routes are established and so forth. And, you know, the constituent on the end of Bellevue Street was not furious about it, but embarrassed because his neighbors said, we told you this would happen, and I don't want to see that happen. I want to see this program to be successful. So he will be here next Tuesday. So I just let my colleagues know, if you have any problems with recycling in your neighborhood, bring it out then.
All those in favor of the motion say aye. Any
Yeah, can I speak on that? I appreciate Councilor Caulfield's efforts, but we do have a manager, and we really should be working through the terms of the contract to the manager. I mean, we can't just be inviting people to come in and tell us what they're doing. I mean, that's why, and his efforts are, I think he means very well, but if 9 of us start inviting people to the council meeting unannounced, then, you know, that's why we have rules as well. So, you know, concerns we have, we go through the manager, and then, I mean, maybe there are some provisions within that contract that if they're not going down the streets, then we're not going to pay them. But the manager's not going to know that if someone just shows up at the meeting. So I think we should work to the manager.
Mr. Mayor, when I received a call from a constituent, I said, you have the number of the Russell business number? He says, yes, I have it. I've called them many times. They don't even call me back. I called them. I reached Mr. Douglas at his office. That's how this all come about.
Councilor Broderick?
Well, I was just going to pretty much ask what Councilor Elliott said, is why is he coming in here? He should be, I would assume he would deal with the manager, that's who makes the contracts, and maybe get a report on it, but I don't understand when he's going to come in and tell us that he's got new drivers, but that's not really, there's nothing for us to do on it. I think he should deal with the manager, and they should deal according to the contract and maybe get a report, but for him to come in here and just tell us what they're doing, or you know, the excuses why they're not, I'd rather see him go out and apologize to the residents that they didn't collect, and then come in here and apologize to us. Thank you.
All those in favor of the motion say aye. Any opposed? The motion is approved. Next motion by Councilor Caulfield. City Council requests the city manager have the building commissioner expedite the demolition of the building located at the corner of Westford and Nichols Street. Second by Councilor Rita Mercier. Councilor Caulfield.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. 155 Westford Street. The entire roof has been illuminated, it's been burnt off. It's the second fire at that location. The neighbor next to this location, their home was seriously damaged, and the neighborhood is just fed up with it. It's an eyesore, and I know we have to follow the letter of the law, Mr. Manager. The building commissioner probably has in the laws that you have to give them a year in advance to rebuild it. This building is just a total mess. And it's the main thoroughfare into the city on Westford Street. People are fed up with it. And I would like the building commissioner to get a commitment from the landlord, no matter who he or she is, what are you going to do with the building? And it can stay like that for a year. And it's just a total eyesore, and that's why I'm bringing that forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything further on this motion? All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The motion is approved. The only item remaining on the agenda then is the communication from the city manager concerning the report on the Stocklosa School. The motion to go into executive session would be to discuss certain matters pertaining to the Stocklosa School which involve impending litigation, the public discussion of which would have a detrimental effect on such litigation. So, is that, anyone willing to make that motion? So moved by Councilor Ramirez, second by Councilor Elliott. Councilor Armin Mercier.
Thank you. As I indicated at a previous meeting,
there are certain conditions under which the law allows us to go into executive session. And what you just read, Mr. Mayor, includes reports on the Start Closer School. Is it my understanding, and through you to the city solicitor's office, that this report is going to be dealing strictly with items of litigation? Because it's my understanding that's the only reason we should go into an executive session. Are there parts of this report that wouldn't come under the executive session rules?
In answer to your question, the very nature of the report and the subject matter of the report, i.e. the classrooms and the $290,000 to restore the classrooms, is the precise nature of what future litigation will entail, and what past litigation, mediation has been surrounding. So the very nature of the report, the very subject matter of the report, all of that pertains to matters of litigation. Could there be some subject matter that could safely be discussed in public? Perhaps, but quite frankly, the entire subject matter and the very nature of this report is one that is totally appropriate for an executive session.
Would you be guiding this council if all of a sudden we stray away from why we're there?
Yes.
You won't be hesitant in telling us that this is not subject to executive session discussion?
I wouldn't be hesitant in executive session, as hopefully I'm not hesitant in open session.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anything further on the motion? Councilor Rita Mercia.
Then do we need a vote to say that we're going into executive session and a vote to adjourn from executive session?
Correct.
Okay.
That's the, if that's the wish of the council, would be then to adjourn from the executive
Yes.
session. We would not return to open session.
Right, that's fine.
Okay. Roll call on the motion.
Councilor Ramirez?
Yes.
Councilor Broderick?
Yes.
Councilor Caulfield? Councilor Donahue?
Yes.
Councilor Elliott?
Yes.
Mayor Martin?
Yes.
Councilor Arman Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo?
Yes.
9 yeas, the vote is approved. We will meet in the manager's conference room right next door.